Well, here we are then with Berke Bakay, the new co-owner of Ipswich Town, one of the three lions, and one of the men who've brought some fresh hope to Ipswich Town fans everywhere over the last few weeks. You've got your Ipswich Town scarf on there. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing?
Thank you, Andy. I'm doing great. Great to finally meet you and Stuart in person, at least over the internet, let's say, and can't wait to meet you guys in person as well.
Yeah, this will have to do for now. A little bit of admin first. Can we just ask you to pronounce your name for us? Because I've heard all different kinds. I've heard Berke, Berke, Berkey. So
if it makes you feel better, the way you said it first is the perfect way you'll say my name. So Berke Bakay.
Great, good start. We're doing all right. So how have you found your first few weeks at Ipswich Town? I think you'll know pretty well that the fans seem quite excited to have you here. You must have got some great messages over the last few weeks.
Yes. So I had to learn how to turn off my Twitter notification every time somebody follows me or sends me a message, because when the news broke, it was, I think, 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. in the US, and my wife woke me up. I'm a pretty deep sleeper, and she's like, "You need to turn this thing off." It was amazing. So it's look, when you embark on a journey like this, you know that you have an international fan base, and it's a massive club with 142 years of history, and it accomplished many things that most EPL clubs have not accomplished, including European championships and FA Cup, etc. So, and it's been tough couple of decades, at least last 14, 15 years. So anytime, and I'm a fan of the sport itself, growing up in Turkey and just being a fan, going to games, etc. So I know how fans feel, and anytime there's a change, that means hope. That means things could be different. So I feel humbled. I feel honored of the reaction. I'm not surprised. So that I always knew. I saw Portman Road and 30,000 fans in there, and I saw the videos of at Wembley and going to EPL. I saw all of that. So I know what fan base is, and it's just been incredible. Very welcoming, by the way. That was amazing. I think 99.9% of the feedback that I got was positive. There was one or two folks like, "What makes you think you're going to do a good with a little bit of a negative approach," but that's understandable. I'll take 99.9%.
What have you made of the football so far? Since you guys took control of the club, the team haven't scored a goal. So when's that going to change?
Listen. So from my perspective, we need to give an opportunity to our manager to be able to start and assemble his own team. This is not his team, and he kind of got in there. I think it was late February, right? He's trying a lot of different systems, etc. Look, for me, it's been disappointing. I am if you're a football fan, you have a very little patience, if you will, and I'm a football fan, so it's and I'm a little bit surprised on that one. I expected that anytime there's a change, there's usually a spark. There's a little bit of a pace, etc. But it's been surprising, a bit disappointing, but that's, I think, precisely why we're here, right? It's we kind of knew very much what we walked into, and when you talk about, we looked at different opportunities in the world of football, but when you look at where Ipswich is today, a mid-table League One club, versus what its history suggests, I don't think there is other clubs out there that there's this kind of disparity, and if there are, I'm not really aware of them right now. So what that really means is an incredible pressure, some of it coming from the fans, some of it my own making with my partners. I mean, I feel the weight of it on my shoulder, the responsibility of having this football club and trying to bring it to a better place than where we found it. That's very, very important. History will judge us on that, and I'm very well aware of what that is, and what it means. But it's an incredible responsibility. It's a very humbling experience.
What was the whole takeover process like Berke. It seemed to take a while, or we've certainly heard since it's happened that it rumbled on for 14 months. And were there times where you thought it might not happen? What was the feeling when it did finally get over the line?
It was incredible, incredibly satisfying. Let me answer the last part of the question. It was incredible. That's the word that I can think of finally get. I mean, think about working on something, including the weekends, day and night, strategizing, formulating. And I mean, COVID, if it wasn't for COVID, it would have happened, much sooner, I would imagine. It was very difficult. I mean, Michael Leary deserves a lot of credit to be, on the ground and getting this done. I never thought I will live a day in my life that I'll buy a football club without actually being on the ground. I mean, that's a very disturbing feeling in a way. But, that's why when you know the history of the club and you know what you're walking into, you have some of those visuals helping and assisting you. But COVID put a massive challenge to be able to move this process as fast as it should have been. And to Marcus Evans' credit, when he says that he really did his work to give this club to somebody that he believes that it could move it forward. I mean, I think he's done his due diligence, making sure that we were that group. So I'm very pleased that it finalized and where we are today. But it has taken an incredible amount of time. But I have never lost hope that it wouldn't happen. I just, with my partners, stayed with the process and be patient and understand that we live in a different world where there are quarantines and there are travel restrictions, etc., that things may move slower than what they should on normal times, and stayed with the process. But it took every day of those 14 months. Whoever told you that, they're correct. Yes.
Yeah. I think we'll get onto sort of your vision for Ipswich Town in a little bit. But before we do that, can we just talk about your upbringing? You're born and raised in Turkey, big Galatasaray fan, massive football fan. I can see your Drogba shirt in the background. Tell us a bit about your background in football.
Yeah, Didier signed that one for me with it. There's a very nice note in there. You can't really see it right now. But so I was born and raised in Istanbul, and only child, massive football fan. And my dad was a fan of Beşiktaş. I was, born as a Galatasaray fan, and it was a good time to be a Galatasaray fan. I mean, it's even all the way up to when I got to 22 years old, and I, left Turkey a few years before then to study in the United States. That's kind of my journey from Turkey to US, to initially to Boston. But, I was lucky enough to, meet George Hagi and, Popescu, if you know those, if you remember those names. And my uncle was actually the president of the club for a while. And, I had and that was a Didier connection. That's where when we started Phoenix Rising, and it was a third division US club then, without even a stadium, and it was playing to like 100 people. And when we, took that one over, it was in Arizona United, where we changed the name. I mean, that's how I found the courage to, reach out to him and say, hey, let me send you a ticket, come to Phoenix, let me show you the project and what we're doing. Well, there you go. That's me and Didier in World Cup in Moscow a couple of years ago. So it's been. I'm sorry?
Sorry, Berke. When we spoke to Brett, he said that you bringing Didier over to Phoenix Rising was one of the biggest coups in world football. He described it at the time. How on earth do you get Didier Drogba over to Phoenix Rising, where you guys were at that juncture?
Brett is very generous with his compliments. I'm not sure if it qualifies for that. I will tell you, I have done, good things in life, on, sport, business, etc., good successes. If you ask me the lowest odds of anything that I have done from start to finish from the given circumstances, that was it. Because, I mean, he, at that point, I'm just trying to, just you put a few years back, the guy won Champions League. Like so how it happened was, like, as I said, massive football fan, big Galatasaray fan. I had a common friend. His name is Ömer. He's a good friend of mine in Turkey that developed a friendship with Didier when he was playing at Galatasaray. So I was living in the US at that point. But one day, before even we purchased back then Arizona United, I had this vision in my head. I said, how do you take a club that only plays to 100 people, that has been incredible disappointment so far? It plays in a baseball field. What is it? What do you need to do that people start taking you seriously, right? That and you kind of go on to your next journey. And my answer to that was, you need to bring somebody that is so well respected, that has such a history with the sport and such a success with the sport, and can still perform on the field, that anybody that knows anything about the sport can immediately make the connection and say, well, if it's good enough for Didier, it's probably good enough for me to watch the match and give these guys another chance, etc. So that was the vision. And I just couldn't get out of my head. And I think that you can put the tie to the Ipswich transaction and the takeover process as well. In the most humbling way I can say this, my friends say, you don't go away unless somebody kills you. I just won't go away. So I started that, vision. It wouldn't get out of my head. And I finally called Ömer. I said, okay, give me Didier's number. I sent him a text, a WhatsApp message with the USL Championship Cup, okay, which I can send you that photo if you guys want to use it. And I said, could you help me get this? And he immediately started laughing. And it's like, how can I think he said, how can I do that? And I said, well, I like to show you what we're doing in Phoenix. You don't have to make any nothing. He will tell you, if you call him, he'll tell you that it was a very soft sale on my end. So I kind of approached with the big vision with the cup. And then I said, why don't you come to Phoenix? It's beautiful. And let me show you around, and etc. So then what I proposed to him was something that wasn't done before. This is even before David Beckham's whole Miami experience, if you will. And I said, excuse me. I said, why don't you become a part owner of this club and, help us get to where we like to be? And what that is initially be the best club on the division that we are in, on and off the field. And Didier was at a stage in his life that, having accomplished everything, having won Champions League, etc., I think he liked that challenge of literally going into a team that played to 100 people before and, put his mark on something that, he can remember and, think about for many years to come. And we built a stadium. I remember showing him the tumbleweed. I mean, there was nothing in there. And the season was starting in, I don't know, some few months. And I said, we're going to build a stadium here. And it was a temporary stadium, but still had 6,200 people, which we end up selling, and which we ended up breaking the North American record of 20 consecutive wins. We got 60 points out of 20 games, all sellouts. That's where we started the dollar beer nights, and it became like an international sensation. And Didier would score these crazy goals, like from 40 yards, he'll take this free kick. There wouldn't be, like, the goalkeeper wouldn't even pay attention. Like, he's like, what is this guy doing from 40 yards? And it will just, fly through, and 4-3-3 will pick up. Like, all of a sudden, like, millions of people around the world. Who are these guys? I mean, ESPN called us the most interesting, sports team in the United States. And somebody else called us one of the most interesting, football teams in the world. I mean, we got all these, nominations because, by the way, at that point, we brought in Sean Wright-Phillips, Omar Bravo from, Mexico. Peter Ramage was there, Jordan Stewart. So we kind of put this team together. And afterwards, we won the, Western Championship twice. We won the Supporter Shield. So we started and we established our selling out every match. And I don't know if you guys know this, but we're on April 30th, we're moving into our new home, which is 60% bigger, like 10,500, etc., which will grow from there. But now we're looking to sell that one out and just grow our fan base to the mid-teens and ultimately the mid-20s, if you will. But so that's the story. It was an incredible journey. When I told my partners that's what I was doing, they laughed at me. I mean, they thought that all could be possible was maybe a dinner with him in Phoenix, and that would be the extent of it. But it was long. That took like 6 months, I think, from start to finish of talking to him every day. And but I think if you asked him, he believed in the project and the vision, and he wanted to have a new experience. And he's not scared of taking on things like that, and that's what he did.
Could he still do a job, Berke? Ipswich need a striker. Does he fancy it?
Well, we need to ask our manager and our CEO, incoming CEO. But can he do the job? Yes, he can do the job. I mean, he's incredible. He keeps up. I don't know if he'll like to do the job. I haven't talked to him about that. But can he do the job? I think he'll destroy the League One, if you ask my opinion.
Sounds good to
Probably
me.
end up scoring 25 goals. I'll take the over on that.
Absolutely. You've obviously talked about Phoenix there. You've done that alongside Brett and Mark, who you're now taking on the Ipswich job with. How did you three come together, and why are you called the Three Lions? Obviously, there's three of you, but there must be a story behind that name.
Yeah. So first of all, this is an absolutely appropriate question for Brett. Anything relates to names, it's Brett Johnson. Phoenix Rise. I mean, he's the brainchild of names, everything. It's Brett Johnson. He's just good. Like if you guys starting a new company, anything, just call Brett. He'll come up with an incredible name in 5 seconds. So 100% of the credit goes to Brett. As it relates to how we met, Mark Detmer and myself, both of our sons and daughters went to the same school in Phoenix. So we became quickly friends. And the story is, there you go. Oh, look at me with my little, I think I put on some weight. Anyway. So we went to school. Our kids went to school together. We became very close friends. And just a story that hasn't been on the press yet that I haven't seen. There's a whole story before on how we end up with Phoenix Rising. I tried to acquire the previous team, which was called Phoenix Wolves, and didn't end up happening for long list of reasons. I stopped the due diligence process and decided not to pursue. And then Arizona United was looking for a partner at that point, the main owner. And a lot of folks in Phoenix were saying, hey, you need to talk to Berke. He's the football guy, and he's very passionate, and he has connections in the sport. You should talk to him. And I talked to him, and this gentleman was talking to Brett and myself at the same time for multiple months. So Brett beat me to it with a better offer, etc. That was I thought we were closing on that transaction, and all of a sudden I literally read on the news that Brett Johnson was the new partner of Arizona United. I said, okay, great, congratulations. And so obviously there was, I'm saying that jokingly, I was disappointed, right? I felt like, I was kind of used in a process to, produce something better. But then Brett, immediately after, a few weeks later, etc., Brett heard about me too, and people saying, you really need to talk to him, like he's on the ground and he's in Phoenix, etc. And Brett started reaching out to me. I would not return his phone calls. Until Mark Detmer, who's a good friend of mine, had a chance to meet with Brett in Los Angeles and said, you should really talk to this guy. He's a nice guy, and just because the process played out that way, he wasn't even aware of your, involvement on the other side. So I said, that's fine, So I said, have him come to Phoenix and let's meet. So he comes to Phoenix. Mark, myself, and Brett met. And I think before even I opened my mouth, Brett said, there's a pathway for you to get involved and this other gentleman not be involved. That, kind of played it that way. I said, okay. Because, for me, the principles are very important. I wouldn't work with somebody that, kind of put me through a process and I read it on the press release that, the decision was going in a different direction. But, I saw Brett and I said that this is a really nice, genuine person, loves the sport, humble, wants the success. So I said, I'll get involved. Absolutely. And I brought in a group together, including some of our board members right now, that still are with us at Rising. And that's the rest is history. So that's how we met. I mean, I knew Mark long before I knew Brett, but we became very close friends. And we have undertaken a lot of businesses together, including Rising, but many other things, many other projects. And I probably talk to Brett no less than 5 times a day, with no exaggeration. So that's he already has a twin brother. I don't know if he told you guys, but I feel like I'm part of the Johnson family.
What makes you such a dream team, Berke? You clearly have become good friends as well as business partners as well. Was it football that kind of bonded you together? What ideals do you all share? What makes it work as a trio? Yes,
certainly. I would say it's all started with friendship and mutual respect for each other and just getting along and having good time. Just think of how you feel with your friends. Like those were the initial feelings. And then when you establish that, it becomes even easier to, if you have differences of opinion, you're less concerned about breaking somebody's feelings, but you can be open and candid with people, right? So that you're close to, that you can say, no, I don't think that's how we should do it, and X, Y, and Z. And you can have an open conversation without being worried about hurting each other's feelings in a respectful manner, and you can come to a mutually agreeable conclusion. So we have that friendship, we have that mutual respect. I think we think highly of each other as a human being, and that's where it all starts. And I think the common thing that we have is we have the passion for the sport. I mean, I told you guys, like for me, growing up in an environment that this is the only sport. I mean, that's what people talk about, and it's not even the match. It's like the 7 hours after all the sport programs in 20 channels. And I remember being a middle school kid going to school, and if we lost to Fenerbahce or Beşiktaş on a Istanbul derby, I mean, I would not want to go to school. I wouldn't want to face. So when you live that as a kid and you don't care about anything else, when you go to school as a middle school kid and you turn around and you go to the stadium 7 a.m. to wait for a 2 p.m. kickoff with Roma on UEFA Cup or whatever, when you have that in your blood since you're 11, 12, you go to away games with people 20 years older than you as a kid. I mean, you have the passion, and I think I like to think I'm the cheerleader of the fan experience. But I always think as a fan, and I'm the fan of the sport, and we share that common passion.
So what's the vision for Ipswich Town then? This is the new vision for you. Where can this club go, and where can you take Ipswich Town Football Club, do you think?
So first and foremost, these are always easier said than done. I mean, let me start with that. It's, everybody gets into these things with the best of intentions and, put appropriate resources behind, etc. So having said that, I already feel the responsibility, the pressure, some of it coming from fans, some of it my own making, on the disconnect between the 142 years history of the UEFA Championship, of an unbeaten home record on European games, to winning FA Cup, to all the way to winning the league. I mean, how can you be a mid-table, League One club? So the vision is, and again, but I say that with utmost humility. I'm not just saying it's automatic and we're going to press some buttons and it's going to happen. But what I will tell you is we will put the appropriate resources, including and starting with people, starting with our CEO, with our manager, with our chairman of the board, with ourselves, people and resources and discipline. I think if you put those things in effect, and if you're respectful of each other's lanes, and you empower qualified people that have done these things before to get the job done. I mean, even our manager has a history of, multiple promotions and doing that in a way that winning the title, not even through the playoffs, right? So, but does he have his own team right now? He doesn't. So we need to first and foremost give him the resources, with our CEO obviously leading the effort on creating that formation. I mean, if that's 4-2-3-1, what are the 2-3 players that needs to be in that formation, right? Get it done. Get the resources. The first vision, the most important thing in my head that is constantly bothering me is I want to get out of League One, and let's get ourselves to Championship first. I feel like that's going to be just a little bit of a breathing room, and then that's just a difficult place. So I know I'm listening to some podcasts or reading on the press. There's some fans talking about, well, in 3 years we're going to be an EPL. I don't think that's a realistic goal. I don't know who has taken a League One club to Premier League in 3 years, but is that part of the goal and the vision? 100%. But I will ask our fans to be a bit more patient on taking that next level, because I just think that the Championship is an incredibly difficult place, and it's just you got other qualified organizations that also feel like, and or just were EPL clubs that just drop a bunch of parachute payments that can't wait to get out of there. So you need to be humble. I think you need to understand what you're dealing with, but you continue to increase the resources and just to get to that goal. And and I have other dreams beyond that once we get to EPL, but we'll talk about that later.
Tell us now. Come on, Berke. Tell us the big dreams.
No, you guys can probably guess. We'll talk about those later. I don't,
But you're dreaming big. I know you probably don't want to sort of put that on the record at the moment, but you guys are dreaming big, right?
Yes, 100%. I'm a dreamer. I mean, I'm a positive person. I'm an optimist. I like to dream big, And again, you guys asked about Didier. If I didn't dream big, I wouldn't have the guts to even talk to a person to bring him in a third division US club that plays to 100 people. Because, you'll be worried about if this guy's like even going to hang up the phone on your face. Like, what are you talking about? Like, did you realize that I won the Champions League a couple of years ago? Like, what do you want from me? Just go. So you have to have the vision, but also you need to have the humility. Okay, you can't just say that we're the best, we're gonna do this. You have to be respectful to the process. It is much more difficult than what people think it is. But I'm uncomfortable being a mid-table League One club, and I will continue to be extremely uncomfortable as long as we're part of this league, with utmost respect to the league. This history doesn't jive. There's a massive disconnect. How can you how can you reconcile an environment where, let's say, there's a 60-year-old person that has seen it, has seen the UEFA Championship as a 20-year-old, and is bringing maybe a grandson or a 20-year-old son, I don't know, depending on their, and then maybe the 20-year-old son has seen nothing. How can you go from there? How do you kind of close that massive generational gap between this club's success and heritage and where it is today? And as long as that gap exists, I'm just going to be extremely uncomfortable. I am uncomfortable.
I think we can maybe push our chat for maybe 10 more minutes. So we're going to try and get a few more topics in there. Obviously, getting out of League One is going to come after a really big summer for this football club. So many players out of contract. So many are going to leave, but so many are going to have to come in, aren't they? You're going to back the manager, Paul Cook, in the transfer market this summer, aren't you?
100%. Paul needs to have an opportunity to have his own team, and I look forward to working with our CEO and with Paul to give the resources to get that done. 100%.
Yeah, obviously, what football fans are like. They want to know if it's going to be big fees, big wages. What can you tell? What can you tell fans? You're a football fan yourself. What can you tell fans this summer about what to expect from your club in this transfer market now?
So what I can tell you is that spending the most money doesn't mean automatic success. I mean, you can just, look at our history here in, last 10, 12 years, etc. What I will tell you is I can give this straight message. Rest assured that all the resources will be provided to get this club out of where it is today. But that will be done in a smart business way. That's why, Mark Ashton is leading this club as a CEO, and I have utmost respect for him. And I think we're going to be able to get it done on whatever the resources that are needed in a smart, intelligent, not wasteful manner, that it could be both good business and it could be both success. And I'm happy to, with the rest of our ownership and our management team, to take on that accountability on what that formula looks like. But again, you got to also live within the realities of, salary caps and fair play. I mean, it's just not even, you can't just even go out there and do anything that you want to do. So you got to keep those in mind as well. But look, we have all the resources to get out of this league right now and, next year. And let me put it this way. I just speak for myself. This is not binding anybody else. You can individually ask. If we didn't get out of League One next year, it will be a disappointment for me, without a question. Like that, I don't know how else to say that.
Yeah.
So
the money behind this. Sorry, Berke. I was going to say that the money behind this is obviously coming from the pension scheme in Arizona. It's sizable money, isn't it? You've got yourself some good financial backing behind this.
That's correct. But again, what I will caution is, just because we have a great backing and great resources doesn't mean we're going to be wasteful, and doesn't mean we're going to do things that are irrational, if you will. So it's very good to be in a place to have all the resources to not on this league, not just on the championship, but also in EPL and then beyond. We have all of those resources at appropriate times, and I think the fans can rest assured. But they should also have realistic expectations that just because you have resources, that you're not going to all of a sudden go out and flush money and do things that doesn't make sense. Like, and by the way, we got to that level even at Phoenix. If you look at our finances, I can share a little bit with you that we are not only successful on the field, but also if you look at our kind of the way we run the club, we have one of the highest sponsorship revenues. We have one of the highest game day revenues, if not the highest. We have one of the highest jersey sales. So we have done in our own league here in the United States a good job on running a profitable business in that sense, like making sure that we have resources to be able to put a team together that can compete. So again, Mark Ashton is critical as CEO of this club, also with our support and help, to be able to make sure that we are a viable organization that really is maximizing its commercial opportunities. Because if you're not, you're just leaving money on the table, and those resources could be used for the club.
Just before we finish up, we've already got a few minutes left. I know you've got other commitments, but you must be really excited to get over to a game at Portman Road. But when you do come, you'll see a stadium that maybe needs just a little bit of love, a little bit of something to restore it to the glory that it can have. Is that something that you guys could potentially look at?
Yes, 100%. I mean, again, I think our immediate first focus right now is on the pitch performance, and the way we can impact that is come June, the summer transfer window. So I think you're going to see us spending a lot of time, energy, and effort on how to solve that piece that is so important. But at the same time, I think if you look at our history, I mean, what other football club do you know that builds a stadium and 3 years later, builds another one? And I'm not saying we're going to build another one by any means, but it just shows you the mentality of constantly trying to improve fan experience, whether it's a bigger stadium, whether it's more, food options, restrooms, whatever. In our own case, like just team shops, etc. We're constantly investing and trying to make it better for our fans. So we have done that in the United States, and we'll certainly. I can't wait to get there and see it in person on what it needs and what it is that we need to do, and also look at that in different stages. But I want to emphasize that the first priority is just on the field performance.
Yeah, you mentioned like commercial opportunities there. Could things like naming rights for the stadium, big screens, sponsorships, could those kind of things come into play, do you think?
I wouldn't touch the Portman Road name, but obviously it's that means a lot to a lot of people. I'm very respectful of that. Again, just growing up in Turkey, if somebody came and changed my name of my stadium, I'm not sure what my reaction will be. So let's not go there for now. But absolutely on the other sponsorship, that stadium naming rights isn't the only thing that there are sponsorship opportunities. So again, I look forward to working with our CEO on maximizing our commercial opportunities 100%.
I think that's going to be music to Ipswich Town ears, isn't it, Stu?
I think so. Yeah, I think a lot of what you've said is going to really resonate with people, and they're going to feel that they've heard from Brett, now they've heard from yourself. Your passion for football really shines through speaking to you, and I think that will really reassure people.
You don't want to see me in person. I'm more of a fan than a board member, if you will. So I need to restrain myself. I can't even watch football games. I can't even look at it sometimes. That's kind of the blood that goes in me. I'm a big fan.
Well, I think Galatasaray fans are known as the most passionate around. So I think if you've been watching them from the sidelines, then you know football fans, Berke. So we look forward to seeing you over here.
Yeah, and Stuart, the first 18 years, I was one of those guys, and even though I had access to all kinds of other boxes, etc., I was right in the middle with fans and
a few flares. Did you get a few flares out? Yeah.
Well, I think my life was in danger multiple times as a little kid, like literally. So, but anyway, it was an incredible. I mean, I still have like dreams about that stuff. You don't forget that as a fan. It gets like ingrained in you, and it kind of stays with you all your life. And all I can hope for is like my kids can have the similar exposure and opportunities to what I experienced. And Portman Road with 30,000 fans, it looks incredible. I can't wait to get there and feel that energy in person.
Berke, I think Ipswich Town fans are going to love you, and you're going to love being an Ipswich Town fan. So thank you so much for joining us. We'll have to get you on again sometime, and hopefully even in person in the not too distant future. But thank you for your time. We can't wait to have you over.
And Stuart, thank you for your time. Really enjoy, reading your work. And a message to Ipswich Town fans is it's been an incredibly welcoming, environment. It's been, the amount of positive messages that I have received is so uplifting. It's for me, it's just a little bit of a pressure builder because I never want to let anybody down, and I know what it means. All I can promise is, on my own ability, I will give 100%. So as all my partners and everybody that is involved in this organization. That's the only thing I can promise. It won't be for lack of trying.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Berke. We'll let you go and do a few more interviews that you've got coming up. But been an absolute pleasure speaking to you, and hopefully we'll see you in person in August, if that's the plan. First game of the season, is that what you're aiming for?
100%. Yeah, I won't miss that. Barring any travel, hopefully we don't have to go backwards, but barring in somewhat a normal world that I can physically come there, you can count on it.
Can't wait. Thanks, Berke.
Thanks, guys.
All the best. Take care.